So every day is feeling like a fight for survival, and it's becoming more and more intense, it seems. So, what if I told you the Liberal Democrats and the Green Party were essentially saying they're going to take away disability and workers' rights and ignore taxing the wealth? Well, that would be devastating. But did I say Lib Dems? Did I say Greens? I meant Reform. And this is specifically what Reform want. The issue is people are taking to listening to Reform and GB News for that matter are very much pro-Reform and taking this at face value rather than looking into the evidence behind it. Because now I've told you something that you think was associated with the other side, you might take it into consideration now that I've exposed Reform. And it's important to know this because essentially they're going to take away benefits as well. If it's not mentioned, it's probably going to have to be sometime after. There'll be a domino effect. And that'll leave a lot of us on the street because we can't afford to live, we can't get jobs. It's painful. And there's much you can do about it once this issue has happened. So, I think the thing that we need to start considering is being more careful with our words and our actions going forward. I watched a Gary Economics video recently where he addressed the immigrant problem, and it wasn't actually about the immigrants, it was about wealth. I've seen several sources essentially say the same thing, and it seems to be quite a universal problem. It's not just the UK, it seems to be the US as well, and we recently even had in the US actually the person on Fox who came out saying all homeless people need to be shot, which gives you some perspective into what Reform actually want. How are they related, you might ask? Because Reform wants total control of not only the country but democracy as well. It's going to turn out that our country will be worse off and there'll be greater inequality. And I remember Nigel Farage saying something about disabled people need to go out to work, which is just completely stupid. It's absolutely brain dead. Because disabled people, by the very term, are disabled people. If they were abled people, yeah, they'll be out there working, they'll be doing it, I would be doing it myself as well. But at the moment, because there's no cure for our conditions necessarily, we are unable to do the work that everybody else does. And I'm like more than anybody else to do back-breaking labour because I'm unhealthy as fuck at the moment, like 140 kilograms. I exercise and I eat healthy and I'm not losing anything. So of course people who are disabled would want work. I definitely want that myself. Our situations don't allow that. At Alderson, I've got this very complicated thing to wrap your head around. Eventually it will click, but it's a combination of traits and it's a spectrum by very definition, so you can't label everyone as the same. That's just foolish and dangerous. And what ends up happening when you do that is you end up not only infantilizing people, but you also put them in these difficult situations to begin with. And that's how this has even come to happen. That's how Nigel Farage has essentially addressed it in such a terrible way. So it leads me on to what the solution is, because people might wonder, how do you deal with an immigration problem? How do you deal with an economy that's basically falling apart? And the simple answer is to do your research. Because a lot of the people making these claims currently are not doing their research. And it's kind of ironic when you look at something like the United Kingdom protest and a billionaire is telling people what to do while they're fighting for essentially economic equality and workers' rights. A fucking billionaire. I shouldn't need to repeat it. Someone who's more wealthy than you can ever be is telling you what to do. Like, you have to be joking, right? It honestly felt like a joke when I heard that, when the United Kingdom protests happened. That's absolutely shameful, and it shows that humanity itself has lost a lot of intelligence over the years. And ironically, it's the younger people who are more intelligent and more aware. So it just leaves me wondering, like, what the hell can we do? Again, research is the one thing, but it's also the trust in people. That's the current problem we seem to be facing here. There's a lot of talk about ship out immigrants, deport immigrants, and stop the boats and stuff. There's not enough talk about what we can actually be doing, which is getting wealth back into the economy and sharing the wealth with other people. And that includes like billionaires and even governments to an extent. Something to be mindful of and be completely aware of, because in the end, something like Reform, when you vote for them, is going to be doing something big for someone else, and it's not going to be the people. And that's what scares me. So I don't feel safe going outside. And I want to go to a local restaurant, for example, like an Italian. And because it's actually run by foreign people, I'm actually quite scared to go out there because of these protests that happen. Because I don't want to be face to face with that bullshit or get into arguments. Because I'm not well equipped to stay calm, essentially. But knowing what I know, it's something I'll see as irrational, just forever and always. And it sucks I can't go out because of that. It just feels too dangerous. Like, there's literally at any moment people just go in, like, wave their flags, like, and tell them to go back to their own country, even though they're probably legally here. So it makes no sense. Like, what the fuck are these people even fighting for? That's the question I have by the end of this. Because it's definitely not fighting for human rights, it's not fighting for the right side of history. It's fighting for the billionaires. That's all I see from this. I don't really see it being addressed properly until people admit that. One of the things I think is important as well, because a lot of people will like see someone on the other side and think, oh, they're a leftist, they're less human then. That's not the case, because every person that's saying this is a human. It's just fundamentally so, and even those you oppose, even immigrants, even religion, again, they're human. One of the things I never got about the pro-Israel stuff for the current situation in Gaza is literally the fact that people are saying this as if it's morally justifiable to kill innocent women and children, not all of which are following a religion, and the justification is that they're Muslims and that they're supposed terrorists, or the government is holding hostages, of which there is no proof. And why are they hostages? I'm pretty sure they would have been handed over by now. So the arguments fall flat when you actually dig into it and use critical thinking. And that's what I don't get about it. Like, how can you justify this? But what if I said, say, a democratic government, for example, in the US state, senator even, were going out and fucking shooting Christian people. That'd be a problem in itself. People know why that's wrong. Because they're shooting people. It's not because they're shooting someone who's Christian. It's actually because they're human. That's why it's wrong. And we can agree and disagree on whatever we want. As long as we understand that we're human. That's what makes no sense about the pro-Israel and essentially anti-Gaza at this point, let's call it. It's so important to understand that. I can't stress it enough. Until people understand, there's literally no reason to even argue about it. Because you fail to understand the fundamental truth and the importance there. And not everyone even has a death wish. Like, you might think you can handle like a Christian cleansing or something. But in reality, you'd break apart. You'd be a coward. You wouldn't even fight. So why the fuck are you pretending to have the balls? And why are you saying that everyone else deserves to have something wrong done to them? It's just fucking sick. So despicably gross as is. So, yeah, again, understanding that people are human is just one of the most important things. Because it's not always obvious, especially when people are arguing about this. It is important. And I guess like the other thing to say is like, where do I align? I guess, believe it or not, even though I've been more into politics than I've ever have, I'm not actually left leaning. I'm not even middle. I'm not even right. I'm not even communist. But rather my ideals anyway, and what I've found to be true is socialism. And people have these misconceptions about it because of what lies have been spread. And the lies typically spread about by Reform or just GB News. There's this lie going around that socialism is basically communism. But communism literally restricts what you do and basically says that everyone is equal. In wealth and in just jobs and stuff. Like, that's not what socialism is. If you actually looked it up and did research, you'd see what it actually is about. And you'd see it's not actually anything to do with communism. Quite the opposite. And it's also pro-benefits, it's pro-human rights, pro-protect women, and pro-protect children, which is another thing I forgot to mention. A lot of the people saying that do not actually believe it and do not apply it. It's less so to do with what people have done in the past and more to do so with what they've done recently. And that's really important to recognise again. Human. That's the word of the day here. If you can't wrap your head around that, that's your problem, I'm afraid. It's not mine. But it'll be the country's problem if you can't. Everyone else's, it'll be your children, your grandchildren. There'll be so many people affected by it, by what Reform will do. And let's not forget that politicians just get paid to be in that position, which immediately makes them susceptible to corruption, and they'll just turn their back on you whenever they want. That's why you have a situation like Keir Starmer meeting Trump, an actual rapist and very likely a paedophile, and essentially not even batting an eye towards it. Like, that's broken. That's corruption. And that's obviously the problem with Keir Starmer. Among other things, he's just not done any good since coming into power. It's obviously it's being bought by someone because if you look at the food meeting they held or whatever, gathering, it's like all fucking billionaires. Not a single person who's like family, I don't think, or even somebody's just like in the middle. It's all wealthy people. And that's one of the things I don't care about this. Like, it's so obviously a scam. Voting for anyone like this is a scam through and through. It's wasting your time, it's wasting your money, it's going to waste lives. That's all it's doing. And again, the only way to address it is being thorough of things, doing research, trusting in people. And, you know, look at the opposing side. I guarantee a lot of people haven't even heard of someone like Zach Polanski, who is the current leader of the Green Party. And I've heard a lot of what he said, and I definitely agree with most things. But I don't agree with everything, and that's the difference. I think parties need to work together to reach an agreement and obviously allow for an easier time for all of us, like tax the wealth. I hear Zach talking about that. I hear him talking about addressing the immigrant situation as a result of that. And there's also a lot of talk about addressing the environment, of course, which, again, based on research, because this is important, it's very much the way we need to be headed to prevent a catastrophe, to prevent weather conditions that worsen our world and then add more to the environment. So it's like a no-brainer. They obviously need that. So, yeah, I don't really know what else to say here. It's frustrating as hell. So I don't like calm, again, I'm worried. It's a real worry. Because the world is headed that way. And we shouldn't be in this situation, it's fucking gross. Like, come on. And it does worry me that there's usually elderly people who do this, who have grandchildren and no doubt children of their own. But again, like, this affects them. It affects the younger generation. And you may not agree with everything they say. But trust me, if you're in your 50s or 60s, you've had your fucking time. Trust me on that. You know, our lives are about to begin. I'm 28. Their lives are about to begin. They're probably younger than me. But holy shit, like, stop being so selfish and stuck in your own arse. Grow some fucking balls. Become more smart. That's all I've got to say. Thanks for listening, and I'll see everyone another time.